Prince Harry has defended Meghan Markle against every accusation, every criticism, every whispered doubt about her past. He portrayed her as a self-made woman who worked hard for everything she achieved, who struggled through lean years as an actress, who built her success through talent and determination alone. That narrative became the foundation of their love story. The struggling actress who got lucky, the independent woman who needed no one, the self-sufficient professional who chose royal life rather than needing it for financial security. But according to royal biographer Tom Bower, who has spent years investigating Meghan's pre-Harry life, that narrative is a carefully constructed fiction. And Harry has recently discovered evidence that allegedly proves Meghan's lifestyle during her so-called struggling years was funded through sources she never disclosed to him. Sources that raise questions about relationships she has denied, arrangements she has hidden, and financial support that came from men whose involvement she has erased from her public story. Want to know what Tom Bower uncovered that has allegedly left Harry panicked? Insiders claim Bower has documented how Meghan maintained an expensive lifestyle on a modest suit salary through financial arrangements with wealthy men who expected companionship and discretion in exchange for covering costs her income could never support. This is not speculation about her finances. According to those who have seen Bower's research, this is documented evidence of how Meghan really lived before she met Harry, and the revelation has reportedly shattered Harry's understanding of the woman he abandoned his family to marry. To understand what Harry has allegedly discovered, you need to go back to Meghan's years as a working actress before royal life. Long before she became a duchess, long before she married a prince, Meghan presented herself publicly as financially independent. She spoke in interviews about supporting herself through acting, about the challenges of making it in Hollywood, about living within her means while pursuing her dreams. But here's what most people don't know. According to sources familiar with Los Angeles elite circles during Meghan's pre-Harry years, the lifestyle she maintained did not match the income she earned. She allegedly lived in upscale neighborhoods, traveled internationally, wore designer clothing, and moved through exclusive social spaces that required financial resources far beyond what a cable television actress typically commands. Word from people who knew Meghan during this period claims she was not struggling the way she described. She was living comfortably, accessing luxury, maintaining appearances that suggested wealth she did not earn through acting alone. And according to insiders, that discrepancy between income and lifestyle was not accidental or the result of good financial management. It was allegedly the result of arrangements with wealthy men who provided financial support in exchange for companionship, discretion, and access to a beautiful, intelligent woman who understood exactly what these relationships required. Sources familiar with how such arrangements function in elite circles claim Meghan was not unique in participating in this system. That in certain Los Angeles networks, beautiful women with ambition often connect with older, wealthy men who can afford to invest in their lifestyles, while the women provide company at events, intimacy in private, and absolute discretion about the transactional nature of the relationship. People who allegedly witnessed Meghan during these years describe a woman who understood the game, played it skillfully, and benefited significantly from connections that were never romantic in traditional sense, but were mutually beneficial in very specific ways. These were not boyfriends she loved. According to insiders, these were allegedly benefactors who funded aspects of her life while she provided what they wanted in return. And Meghan, sources claim, never disclosed these arrangements to Harry. She presented herself as financially independent when the reality was allegedly far more complicated and far more dependent on men whose names she has erased from her history. This is where the story shifts from Meghan's hidden financial past to Harry's devastating discovery. So when did Harry allegedly learn the truth about how Meghan funded her pre-royal lifestyle? According to sources close to the prince, the revelation came through Tom Bower's exhaustive research. Bower, who interviewed hundreds of people for his investigation into Meghan's background, allegedly uncovered financial records, testimonies from people who knew about the arrangements, and evidence that directly contradicted Meghan's claims of financial independence. And when Bower's findings began circulating through media and royal circles, insiders claimed someone ensured Harry saw the documentation. Want to know what that evidence reportedly contains? Sources familiar with Bower's research suggest it includes banking records showing deposits that did not come from acting income. Testimonies from people who witnessed Meghan with wealthy benefactors who paid for travel, accommodations and lifestyle expenses, evidence of apartments and vehicles registered in names that were not Meghan's but that she had access to through relationships she never publicly acknowledged. And most damaging, according to insiders, communications that allegedly show Meghan's awareness of these arrangements and her active participation in maintaining discretion about the sources of her financial support. People close to Harry claim that when he first heard these allegations, he dismissed them as more attacks designed to hurt Meghan. But as Bower's evidence accumulated, as the sources proved credible, as the pattern became undeniable, Harry allegedly began to recognise he had been deceived about fundamental aspects of Meghan's past. That the independent woman he thought he married had allegedly been financially dependent on arrangements she never disclosed. And here's what reportedly cut Harry deepest. Sources suggest he discovered that palace investigators had found hints of these arrangements during their pre-wedding background check, that advisors had tried to raise questions about discrepancies between Meghan's income and lifestyle, and Harry had allegedly dismissed those questions as prejudiced attempts to undermine Meghan. Now, according to insiders, Harry understands those questions were legitimate, and he ignored them because he did not want to see the truth. As news of Harry's alleged discovery spread through royal and social circles, reactions revealed long-held knowledge that many had kept silent. How did the palace respond when Harry finally learned what they tried to warn him about? Inside Buckingham Palace, sources say there is profound sadness mixed with vindication. Senior advisors who conducted Meghan's background investigation allegedly found financial irregularities they could not fully explain. They reportedly raised concerns about how she maintained her lifestyle, about gaps in the documented sources of her income, about relationships with wealthy men that seemed significant but were never acknowledged. And according to palace insiders, Harry accused them of racism when they tried to discuss these concerns before the wedding. Now that Tom Bower has documented the same issues with evidence Harry cannot dismiss, sources claim palace staff feel their early warnings have been validated, but they take no joy in it. They reportedly recognise that Harry is devastated by discovering truths he could have known years ago if he had been willing to listen. Prince William's reaction is allegedly more complex. Word from those close to the Prince of Wales suggests William knew about Meghan's financial arrangements before the wedding. He apparently had access to the same palace investigation findings and tried to discuss them with Harry, tried to suggest that Meghan's past raised legitimate questions that deserved answers before Harry committed his life to her. And Harry, according to sources, cut William off, accused him of jealousy, and refused to hear anything that challenged his idealised view of Meghan. Now, insiders claim William watches his brother grapple with revelations that could have been addressed years ago and feels both sympathy and frustration. Meanwhile, back in California, sources suggest Meghan is reportedly furious that Bower's financial investigation is being taken seriously, that Harry is questioning her, that the arrangements she thought were safely buried are being exposed. According to insiders, she denies the allegations and frames them as more attempts to destroy her credibility. But people familiar with the situation claim her denials are less convincing when confronted with documentation that Bower has assembled. And in elite Los Angeles circles, word from insiders suggests there is quiet acknowledgement that what Bower has uncovered about Meghan's financial arrangements is accurate, that people who knew her during those years are not surprised by the revelations because they witnessed the lifestyle, knew about the benefactors, and understood the arrangements that made it all possible. But here's what most people don't know. What specific financial arrangements has Tom Bower allegedly documented that prove Meghan was not self-sufficient? The evidence paints a picture Harry never wanted to see. The first piece of evidence involves Meghan's housing during her Los Angeles years. According to sources familiar with Bower's research, Meghan allegedly lived in apartments that were beyond what her suit's salary could reasonably afford. And investigations into the leases reportedly show they were connected to wealthy men who were not publicly acknowledged as boyfriends, but who had financial relationships with Meghan that extended beyond casual dating. Insiders claim Bower has documentation showing these men paid rent or provided accommodations while Meghan maintained the appearance of living independently. This allowed her to present herself as self-sufficient while actually being financially supported by benefactors she never disclosed. The second piece of evidence is more extensive. Multiple sources claim Bower documented Meghan's international travel during years when her acting income should have limited such luxury. Flights to Europe, vacations in exotic locations, stays at expensive resorts. And according to insiders, investigation into how these trips were funded reveals they were often paid for by wealthy men who travelled with Meghan or arranged the accommodations as part of ongoing arrangements. People familiar with Bower's findings suggest he has credit card records, booking confirmations, and testimonies from people who witnessed these arrangements and understood their transactional nature. The third piece of evidence cuts to the core of Meghan's independence narrative. Word from sources familiar with the research suggests Bower uncovered evidence of direct financial support, deposits into Meghan's accounts that did not come from her salary or any disclosed income source. payments for clothing, jewellery, vehicles and lifestyle expenses that were funded by men whose relationships with Meghan were never publicly acknowledged. According to insiders, this evidence directly contradicts Meghan's claims of being financially independent and reveals instead a pattern of accepting significant financial support from benefactors who expected discretion about the arrangements. And the fourth piece of evidence is what allegedly devastated Harry. Sources claim Bauer discovered that some of these financial arrangements allegedly continued even after Meghan met Harry, overlapping with the early period of their relationship when she was presenting herself as fully committed to him alone. If accurate, this means Meghan was allegedly accepting financial support from other men while courting the prince, maintaining arrangements she never disclosed, even as she positioned herself as Harry's exclusive partner. To understand how Meghan maintained these alleged financial arrangements without public knowledge, you need to understand the network that facilitated them. So who were the architects who connected Meghan to wealthy benefactors? The first figure, according to sources, operated within elite social clubs where beautiful women and wealthy men are brought together through carefully managed introductions. Insiders familiar with such networks claim this person understood exactly how to position women like Meghan, how to facilitate connections that would benefit both parties, how to ensure discretion that protected everyone involved. People who allegedly witnessed this architect's work describe someone who created opportunities for Meghan to meet men who could afford to support her lifestyle, while she provided the companionship and discretion they valued. According to sources, this person allegedly helped Meghan navigate these arrangements with sophistication, teaching her how to maintain the appearance of independence while actually being financially dependent on relationships she kept hidden. Word from insiders suggests this architect took percentage of arrangements as compensation for facilitating valuable connections. The second architect is more shadowy. Sources point to figures within the Soho House network who allegedly understood how to connect ambitious women with wealthy men who could provide financial support in exchange for access and companionship. According to people familiar with how Soho House operates in certain circles, these connectors facilitate introductions that lead to mutually beneficial arrangements disguised as organic social connections. Meghan, insiders claim, was allegedly positioned within this network, given access to men who could fund her lifestyle, and guided on how to maintain these relationships without drawing public attention. These architects, according to sources, created the infrastructure that allowed Meghan to live far above her documented income, while maintaining the fiction of financial independence that would later become crucial to her royal narrative. What makes Tom Bower's research truly dangerous for Meghan is not just what he has published, but what he still holds. Want to know what documentation Bower allegedly possesses that could completely destroy Meghan's credibility? According to sources close to the biographer, Bower conducted over 200 interviews for his investigation. He spoke to people who knew Meghan during her Hollywood years, who witnessed her financial arrangements, who understood how she really funded her lifestyle. And many of those sources allegedly provided information that was too legally risky or too explosive to include in published work without facing potential lawsuits. Insiders claim Bower has a vault of unused material, financial records that show specific transactions, testimonies that name specific benefactors and describe specific arrangements, communications that allegedly prove Meghan's awareness that she was being financially supported by men she never disclosed to Harry. Evidence of how these arrangements were structured to maintain discretion and avoid public knowledge. Word from people familiar with Bower's files suggests he documented not just the financial support but the expectations that came with it. What the benefactors wanted in exchange for funding Meghan's lifestyle. How Meghan allegedly fulfilled those expectations while maintaining the public image of independent actress. How the arrangements were managed to ensure none of the men were ever publicly connected to her in ways that would reveal the transactional nature of the relationship. According to sources, Bower's research allegedly reveals a level of financial dependency that completely contradicts everything Meghan told Harry about her past. Not occasional help from supportive friends, but systematic financial arrangements with wealthy men who funded significant portions of her lifestyle in exchange for companionship she has never acknowledged. Those close to the situation claim this documentation is what has Harry panicked, because if it becomes public, it destroys Meghan's entire foundation story. The independent woman was allegedly dependent. The self-made success was allegedly funded by others. The struggling actress was allegedly living in luxury provided by men she has erased from her history. And Harry must face the possibility that he abandoned his family for a woman whose entire past was built on deceptions he was too infatuated to investigate. And now we reach the final truth that Harry can no longer avoid. How does a prince survive discovering his wife's independence was allegedly an illusion funded by hidden benefactors? Harry stands in California, confronting evidence that allegedly proves Meghan was not the self-sufficient woman she claimed to be. According to sources close to the prince, he is panicked by what this revelation means for everything he sacrificed. He left his family believing Meghan needed no one, that she chose him freely without financial motivation. Now, insiders claim he faces evidence suggesting she was allegedly financially dependent on arrangements with wealthy men, that her lifestyle was funded by sources she never disclosed, that the independence he admired may have been performance masking calculated dependency. Word from those familiar with Harry's state of mind suggests he cannot reconcile the woman he thought he married with the evidence Tom Bower has assembled. That every conversation about her past now feels like potential deception, that every claim of self-sufficiency now raises questions about what she was hiding. Those close to Harry claim he is trapped in an impossible position. He can confront Meghan with Bower's evidence and risk destroying what remains of their relationship. Or he can ignore the documentation and live with knowledge that his wife's past may have been far more complicated than she ever admitted. According to insiders, Harry is currently choosing denial, publicly defending Meghan while privately wrestling with evidence he cannot fully dismiss, because admitting the financial arrangements were real means admitting he was deceived about fundamental aspects of who Meghan was before they met. The vault of evidence exists. Tom Bower's research documents arrangements Meghan allegedly never disclosed. And Harry must decide whether to keep defending the independence narrative while knowing it may have been funded by benefactors she erased from her story. Because in the end, every relationship built on incomplete truths eventually faces a reckoning when someone decides to document what was hidden. And Meghan's carefully constructed image of self-made independence is crumbling under the weight of evidence that she was allegedly anything but independent during the years she claims to have struggled alone. The truth is documented, the panic is real, and Harry must choose between the woman he thought he married and the evidence of who she allegedly really was. Subscribe to Royal Unfiltered for more such news. Thanks for watching.